Hello, people. Welcome back to another video by your good friend Chad Marco, the big Anarchy. Make sure you guys check out my other social media, attack that like button, and let's talk, baby. So this video is called "The NEETs Were Right." So I know that sounds a bit provocative. This sounds a bit crazy, but hear me out. Hear me out. So you guys know I've been a NEET for most of my adult life, and I've always kind of been around or participated in different, the internet subcultures where you have adult virgin men and the unemployed, the nerdy, hickey, shut-ins, weirdos, shit like that. And of course, you always find NEETs when you go around places like that, whether it's like WizChan, R9K, places like that, Incel, the Incel board, the Incel sites and shit like that. You always find like NEET. It's always gonna be NEETs around, right? But one thing that I feel like kind of separated myself from them was that I never felt like I was like a hardcore NEET. Now I know that might sound crazy considering how long I've been a NEET. But even when I was younger, I always wanted to get a job. I never was hardcore to the point where I was like, I just want to completely check out of society and don't even try. And I've always noticed that you do have those guys who they would rather kill themselves than go to work. They would rather get on welfare, fake disability. They'll do anything just to not get a job. And I always felt a bit different from them because I was always willing to get a job. I just always sucked at getting one, Various points throughout my life, I've had job interviews and things like that, and they just never worked out. The only job I ever had was the short stint as the janitor that didn't work out in the end. But my point is that I've noticed that there are just some guys who are like just way more hardcore about it, and they completely embrace it in a way that even I never did. But what do I mean when I say that the NEETs were right? And so I kind of got to go back to a previous video that I made. I think it was the video where I was talking about why I would vote for Donald Trump, or why I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. And I think in that video I talked about how, like, if we had a military draft, there's no way I would fight for this country. Growing up, I always felt like if nothing else, if we were invaded by another country, I would be willing to step up and fight for this country. And for the first time in recent years, I don't feel that way anymore. I don't really feel a sense of pride about the country I live in. I don't feel a real sense of loyalty to the country that I live in anymore. And it's because more and more when I look at our government and I see the corruption and I see the complete disregard that it has for its citizens, how can you feel good about being an American? How can you feel good about being a Canadian, about being a Brit? Because we're all, different countries are dealing with these corrupt ass governments that are enacting all these insane policies. And just for example, when you look at what we're going through in America right now, one of the big issues is the whole illegal immigration thing, right? And then it's like, when you do the research, you find out that, the Biden administration, they purposefully undid several policies that allowed the border to be broken wide open. Like, they did this on purpose.
And I'd like to understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
And I watched the State of the Union address where Joe Biden was giving his yearly speech, right? And the way he talked about, really all the issues in America, but illegal immigration in particular, he talked about it like he had nothing to do with the border being wide open. Like, it had nothing to do with him. or his administration, or they had no power over it. But then when you look at the facts, they purposefully changed things so that the border be wide open. They did this on purpose. And I don't have to tell you all the negative side effects that occur from mass illegal immigration. You know, they allow wages to stagnate and things like that because, you know, big corporations, the millionaires, they love illegal immigration because they can pay these people very cheap. And they don't have to pay the native citizens who have a higher expectation of wages and quality of life. They don't have to satisfy them anymore because they got these people coming in who are going to be satisfied with whatever the fuck they give them. But that's a whole nother thing, you know. And then you see, like, when Biden was heckled a bit about the young girl that was killed by the illegal immigrant. And then, you know, he touched on it briefly, but after the fact, he was more concerned about the fact that he called the murderer who killed this girl. He was more concerned about the fact that he called him an illegal instead of undocumented. It is just like.
But during your response to her heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is growing. We have to control the border and more orderly flow, but I don't share his view at all.
So you regret using that word?
Yes.
Every day it's another slap in the face to the American people. And when I see stuff like this, it's just like how can you have any real faith and hope in the country you live in? And so what does this have to do with NEETs? And when you look at NEETs, and not just NEETs, but I would also throw in like MGTOW and Red Pill to a certain extent, because when you look at it, these are different groups that are checking out, you know, just to different levels and in different ways. You know, the NEETs, they kind of check out of society by not paying taxes, not working, things like that. You know, hickeys, they check out of society by not socializing and living a very private hermit-like life. MGTOW, they check out by not dealing with women, not getting married, not having kids. You know, Red Pill can vary in many different ways, right? But the point is, you see more and more men kind of checking out and not living up to the standard or societal norms as far as like what a man is supposed to be. And at this point, I'm just like, how can you even blame these men? How can you shame the NEETs for checking out of a society and a system that obviously and clearly does not give a damn about its own people? It is becoming more and more clear that the system that we're in is corrupt and is, exploiting and taking advantage of his own citizens more and more every year. You know, I remember when Biden came into office, one of the first big headlines was that they immediately hired like 80,000 plus new IRS agents. And now I'm seeing these people talk about online how all of a sudden they're paying more taxes. It's like, wait a minute, why am I paying more taxes? And I remember, you know, one of the narratives when this mass hiring of new IRS agents occurred, one of the narratives was that, they're going after the rich. No, you don't need 87,000 more IRS agents to go after the minority of millionaires in the country and in the world. You get that for the little man. You get that for the average person, the person who's able to make more money with the Cash App, the waitresses and stuff getting tips, you know, small business owners and shit. And so I'm seeing this and it's like, yo, like, I don't feel good about the country I live in, bro. And it's like, there's this, not a feeling of being like lost, because I still have my own like internal foundation and principles within myself, and, you know, love and care for my family and my friends and, you know, goals and things like that. But I don't feel good about the country I live in. I don't feel good about the system and the society. And so the thing is, you got to look at, when you look at, like how men operate within a society. Why would you shame a man for living with his parents as an adult? Why would you shame a man for not being married? Why would you shame a man for not having kids? Why would you? It's because as a collective, in order for a country to work, you need people to invest. You need people to put in effort. You need people to make sacrifices for the sake of the greater good. Again, why would you shame men for not wanting to fight in a war during a draft or something like that? Like, I think, I'm not exactly sure, but I just remember hearing things like during World War II, we were so ready to go to war after, Pearl Harbor that, if you weren't signing up to go to war, right, if they had to come get your ass, like, you were going to look really bad. Because that was a time where Americans really loved their own country. They felt good about being Americans. And when we got attacked, it kind of brought us together in a way like 9/11. And I think that's what's missing more and more now is, and not just with myself, but you're seeing all these articles. They're talking about, men who are failure to launch, the lowering rates of marriage and things like that, men not working and things, women are the ones who are getting more educated and they're the ones who are buying the homes while men are trying to be minimalists and shit like that. But to me, it all makes sense because again, why would you sacrifice trying to live up to society's standard when society is not built for you, when society is no longer holding up its end of the bargain? When the government is no longer for the people, but for itself, the people who wise up to that, they're also going to be for self. And so I think what we're seeing with, these more and more men kind of just checking out and doing their own thing, I think a lot of that is due to the fact that they don't really see much hope in a society, in the culture, in the system that we live in, and so now, I get it. I'm Mr. How to Be a NEET and all that. I got you. But I could always look at things from both perspectives. Like, I could totally understand people saying, you know what, these men, they're not contributing. They're leeches. I'm paying taxes. And I get that. I get that, but now I don't see how you can really shame and blame these men anymore, because when you, again, just look at the illegal immigration thing, look at the money that's being sent to the Ukraine, the money that's being sent to Israel. I can't speak for every American, but whenever I go to the people, whenever I get connected to the people, right, when I look at different places online and videos where people are speaking out, average citizens are speaking out, they don't want that shit. We're done with Ukraine. We're done with the illegal immigration. Like, we don't want to be giving illegal immigrants, paychecks and debit cards and food stamps and shit. We don't want that. I remember there's this great video where, I think, I forgot her name. I know her initials are AOC, but she was standing outside this building with some other politicians, and they were trying to, they're talking about the immigrants coming in, and they were celebrating it. And all around them were people who were screaming, we don't want this, close the border, close the border. I think that video is the perfect example of the state of America right now, where it's literally just the politicians and the government doing whatever it wants, regardless of what the people think, regardless of the wants of the people.
But my job is not to be popular. My job, although it helps, my job is to do the right things for Canada now and do the right things for Canadians a generation from now. And that's what I've been focused on. And yeah, it's not always popular, but I know that doing the right things today, that support people today, that deliver that better future a generation from now, 2 generations from now, is going to make a huge difference in the path we take forward.
You know, it was supposed to be for the people, by the people. And now it's just, we're the government. We do what the fuck we want. Fuck you. Fuck the people. That's where we are now. And, you know, I got to be honest, bro. And I get it. I'm biased because I've been a NEET for so long. But, you know, at this point, I'm really 100% just like, fuck it. Right. And not in the sense of like giving up hope. Right. Like, I still want to make money. I want to get a job. I want to be successful. I want to travel. Like, don't get it twisted. But I'm saying in terms of like, fuck it, as far as like societal expectations. Like, to me, there's no more argument for that. There's no more argument for pull yourself up by the bootstraps. There's no more argument for, you know, just like you got to contribute to society. There's, to me, it's done. To me, for me, it's over, bro. It's every man for himself. Do what you need to do for yourself and your family, bro. That's my whole mentality. And I'm not saying this whole video isn't like, oh, just go be a NEET. This video is about the destruction of societal norms and the standard that we as men are supposed to live up to. Because what I'm realizing and what I believe is that it only makes sense if it's reciprocated. The sacrifice that men are expected to make, the standard that we're expected to live up to, only makes sense when the society and the government and the system is set up in such a way that it has our back, that it's propping us up, that it's giving back as much as we're willing to give. And that's not where we are anymore. So again, how can you shame NEETs? How can you shame the failure to launch? How can you shame the... Because what's this? There is no longer any justification to hold these men to the standard set by a system that is blatantly corrupt and blatantly against them. It makes no sense. So what, at this point, for me, it's every man for himself. Like, figure out your own code, your own principle, your own standard. And you know, it's funny, I was talking to my mom too, because she feels the same way. You know, because, you know, she got to pay taxes and she's seen all this dumb shit where her tax money is going and shit. And, you know, I told my mom straight up, I was like, Mom, my goal right now this year is to get a job, and I'm going to stay home. I'm going to save money, and I want to give you money, period. Like that. And my mom was like, yes, great. And the point is like, it used to be, you know, if you were an adult man, like saying, yeah, I'm staying home to save money, like that was something to shame. But now it's like, how can you blame me? How can you continue to blame guys for doing stuff like that when the rent is only going up, the wages are only stagnating, and it's only going to get worse because of the illegal immigration that the system is allowing? You know, when is enough? When do we stop shaming each other and start holding the government and the system accountable for not doing its job, for not creating an environment where people will actually benefit from sacrificing, where people will actually benefit and know that it'll be worthwhile to go the extra mile, to make those sacrifices, to put in the investment. We're not in that state anymore. And so that's why I feel like all these ideas about what is normal, what a man should be, it's gone. It's whatever you decide it is for yourself. If it's being a NEET, fuck it. If it's getting a trade, fuck it. If it content creator, cool. Like whatever, like that's how I see it now. Because what is the standard that a man is supposed to live up to in a corrupt system? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And that's why I say the NEETs, they were right. Because in the end, they checked out of a system that turned out to be corrupt and not for them in the first place. So how can you blame them? How can you be mad at them? You know, last point, you know, there's a YouTuber named Aaron Clary. He writes books and he talks about politics, red pill, you know, relations between men and women. But I think one of his books is called Enjoying the Decline of Western Civilization or something like that. And he has this belief that right now we're in this kind of sweet spot between the height of Western prosperity and the collapse. So we are basically going through a decline where things are slowly going to get worse over the years. And he always preaches, try to enjoy it the best you can, because we don't have the ability or the power to turn things around. There are too many idiots. There are too many sheep who are just going to prevent things from changing for the better. We're never going to have the level of cooperation necessary to flip things on its head. So he always says, just enjoy the decline. And I feel like that's exactly what we're going through right now. And I don't want to sound pessimistic. That's not my thing, and this isn't like a doom and gloom type of message. This is a message of do the best you can for yourself. Create a code and principle by you, for you. Fuck what a normie got to say. Fuck what the government got to say. fuck what the boom, whatever. It's at this point, you decide for yourself what's important and how you want to live. And the amount of effort and investment that you put into it is on you. At least that's how I see it at this point. But I would love to get you guys feedback on that. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I will see you on the next. So, Johnny.